The true horrors of the Cold War weren't the missiles aimed at capitals, but the black-budget experiments aimed at the fundamental laws of nature. And nowhere was this ambition more nakedly hostile than in northern Ontario, where the vast, unforgiving landscape concealed secrets that defied God and physics. Dr. Eva Rostova, a geophysicist specializing in seismic anomalies, had spent 2 years hunting a faint, persistent gravitational aberration near the abandoned copper mines of the Canadian Shield. The anomaly was minute, a barely measurable drag on local mass, but it was static. It wasn't natural. It was manufactured. Her hunt led her to the husk of Project Specter, a secret facility disguised as a defunct mine shaft and operated by Canadian and American government agencies during the mid-1970s. The site was brutalist, an imposing concrete structure half submerged in snow and permafrost, a monument to the era's uncompromising secrecy. Eva gained access through a decommissioned vertical mine shaft, rappelling hundreds of meters down into the frozen bedrock. The cold was crushing, but the silence was absolute, a terrifying, acoustic vacuum that swallowed sound instantly. The Specter facility was not interested in minerals. It was interested in dimensional compression. Its core purpose, to fold three-dimensional space onto a two-dimensional photographic emulsion, to take a physical room, its dimensions, its contents, its very presence, and compress its existence onto a photographic plate, like squeezing an orange onto a piece of paper. The goal was to store complex, physical information discretely and permanently. Eva found the main lab, a massive, centralized chamber dominated by complex, rusted machinery and thick, insulated steel walls. A large, intricate contraption with exposed wires and cracked analog gauges sat in the center, the dimensional compressor. And on a concrete workbench, she found the result of their labor. The core of the horror. It was a single, heavily sealed, military-grade aluminum storage canister, chillingly cold to the touch. It was labeled only with a cryptic date, November 4th, 1978, and a single, ominous designation, A001. The stillness. Eva carefully pried the canister open. Inside, nestled in foam, was a single photographic slide. It was not a landscape nor a portrait. It was the image of a perfect, featureless, absolute black circle against a dark gray background. It wasn't a shadow. It was the complete, utter absence of light, perfectly rendered void. The compressed image of a room, a physical space, was contained on that 2-inch square of photographic emulsion. As Eva held the slide, she felt the familiar gravitational drag, the anomaly, intensify. It was radiating from the slide itself. Eva brought the slide back to her mobile analysis unit, setting it up in a smaller, isolated testing room within the bunker. She had to verify the contents. She placed the slide into a photographic enlarger, the kind used for large-format printing. This machine was designed to project light through an image. When she flipped the switch, the lamp inside the enlarger immediately blew out with a silent, blinding internal flash. The room plunged into darkness. When she replaced the bulb and tried again, the result was different and infinitely more terrifying. The enlarger's lens focused the light beam down onto a small area of the workbench. But where the light should have hit the table, there was a perfect, absolute black circle. The beam of light was visible right up to the edge of the projected circle, but inside that perimeter, the light simply vanished. It wasn't a shadow. It was a perfect void, a physical pocket of light-devouring reality. The image contained on the slide was manifesting itself in 3 dimensions. The room had been successfully compressed onto the film, and now, when subjected to energy, it was unfolding itself back into space. Eva immediately brought in her acoustic and electromagnetic sensors. The visual void was silent, but her equipment registered something else. A low, persistent, oscillating frequency emanating from the void. Running the frequency through her most advanced spectral analyzer, Eva cross-referenced it with established theoretical physics databases. The answer was chilling. The oscillating frequency matched the projected audio profile of a microscopic Kerr black hole. The room they had compressed was not an empty space. It was a space that contained the necessary temporal and gravitational conditions to form a singularity. And now, the slide was allowing that singularity to bleed into our reality. The more the void was exposed to energy, even the ambient light of the room, the more stable and larger it became. It started at 2 inches. Within 3 hours, it was a foot wide, silently devouring the light that touched it. Eva realized the immense danger. The original Project Specter scientists had successfully folded the room, but the process had captured an unstable moment in spacetime. The project hadn't failed. It had captured a monster. The architectural structure of the bunker began to react. The gravitational drag, once faint, now felt like standing in chest-deep water. Tools slipped from her hands, falling not toward the floor, but subtly toward the black void. The concrete walls of the lab, designed to withstand deep mine pressure, began to show fine horizontal stress fractures. These weren't normal cracks. They were perfectly geometric, following the same unnerving pattern as the compressed image itself. Eva found the journal of Dr. Miles Thorne, the project lead. His final entries, dated 1978, were frantic. The image is feeding. It is not contained by the film. It uses the emulsion as a gateway. We folded space, but we didn't fold out the time. The thing inside is consuming the now to exist. We must seal the shaft. We must starve it of dimension. Thorne had realized the error. The compression process did not stabilize the space. It transferred the instability to the photographic medium. The slide was a temporal fuse. Eva's memory began to suffer the same fate as the light. She would leave her console for 5 minutes and return to find her instruments slightly rearranged, her handwritten notes subtly altered. The black hole, by consuming now, was causing temporal dissonance in her localized area. She began to doubt the sequence of events. Did I descend the shaft today or yesterday? Did I eat the rations or am I still hungry? The terror was not seeing the monster. The terror was losing the sequence of reality itself. The black void was now 3 feet in diameter, shimmering faintly with an internalized, chaotic energy. The oscillating frequency it emitted was deafening, felt more as a physical tremor in her bones than as sound. All metallic objects near it, tools, cabinets, wires, were bending inward, inexorably pulled toward the absolute null. Eva knew she had to destroy the slide. If the void grew large enough, the gravitational pull would trigger a catastrophic collapse of the entire mine system and surrounding geology. The room would unfold into a localized black hole event. She grabbed a heavy sledgehammer and swung it at the enlarger holding the slide. The slide, however, was no longer merely a piece of film. As the sledgehammer approached, the slide pulsed, and the hammer's trajectory was instantly and violently bent towards the void, narrowly missing the enlarger and smashing into the concrete wall with a crushing impact. The void was distorting local gravity to protect itself. Eva realized she couldn't use force. She had to remove the energy source, the light. She rushed to the main lab, dodging debris that was now floating eerily toward the testing room. The main power grid was offline, shut down decades ago, but the compressor was still humming, generating a faint field. The final log of Dr. Thorne detailed one last, desperate measure. A resonant frequency wave designed to temporarily flatten the folded space, forcing the void back into 2 dimensions. She found the schematics and struggled to activate the rusted, ancient console. As she worked, the black void grew larger in the adjacent room. She could hear the distinct sound of shattering rock and tearing metal, the sound of the mine shaft collapsing under the impossible gravity. With a final, desperate turn of a rusted dial, Eva activated the ancient console. A wave of intense, high-pitched acoustic energy erupted from the compressor. The black void didn't vanish. It shrank violently, collapsing back to the size of a photographic slide, becoming an impossibly small, dense point of pure blackness. The intense gravitational drag instantly ceased. The air was silent again. Eva collapsed, her ears bleeding from the acoustic shock. She waited an hour, testing the area. The gravitational anomaly was gone. The mine shaft was silent. The crisis was averted. Eva stumbled back to the testing room. The shattered walls and bent metal were testament to the horror, but the void itself was gone. Or was it? Where the void had been, there was now a new object. A perfect, obsidian black, smooth stone, about the size of the original photographic slide, but impossibly heavy. It was the pure materialization of the compressed space. Eva sealed the object in a heavily lead-lined container and climbed out of the facility. She contacted no one. Project Specter remained sealed and silent under the Ontario snow. She kept the stone. It was cold, silent, and exerted a constant, faint gravitational pull on her life. It represented the ultimate, terrifying truth. The universe is inherently unstable, and the dividing line between space and time is merely a function of light. But sometimes, when she holds the black stone, she doesn't feel the stone itself. She feels the silence, that clinical, suffocating absence of all ambient noise, the silence of a room where the laws of physics are inverted. And sometimes, she thinks she hears the faint, high-pitched oscillating frequency, the sound of the microscopic black hole, coming not from the stone, but from inside her own head. The space was folded, but the sound may have been imprinted on her reality forever. The project succeeded. They stored a room on film. The horror is that the contents of that room are now free. The ultimate fear isn't what's out there, but what happens when you discover that space itself can be erased.